Once again, thank you for being here also from my behalf, and then
Thank you from my behalf also.
perfect. Today, so we've decided also to go the direction of AI generated imagery. And the first one to show is generated, just kidding. So it's funny that Bill Gates, when he released his book in 96, he wrote there that we overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years, but always underestimate the change that will occur in 10. And today we are trying to give some ideas and visions of the future of software development, combined with the explanations from me and Henka. But also I'm going to try to live code some. We'll see how far that takes us. Would you like to?
Yes, thank you. So the idea what we had is actually kind of walk you through 4 different steps to the scenario, which we see as a kind of a thing that will happen in, let's say, around 10 years all in all. So the first scenario is something that is happening already. You most probably know, actually taking AI assisted software into use. Then the second scenario will be around like putting the things together, actually using AI for legacy things. Then the third is about using AI for business requirements and then generating software based on these. And then the fourth one, which we will discuss a bit more later, is about like self-developing software. So how do you actually maybe take the step towards that customers can develop the software themselves with certain limitations. But we'll come back to that one. We'll build the storyline. We'll show some Marko's magic here in the way. So please be actively participating here.
Okay, let's start with the first one. So AI-assisted software development, where we are currently. And I actually would like to include every one of you into this. So please take out your phones and type in, you can either type in future.hopefully.works, or you can scan the QR code. There will be a yes or no question. The question is, we already deploy AI-generated code to production regularly. To production. Not only just using AI, but actually going to production. We're going to wait for a few minutes.
So it seems that there are quite a few people who are already deploying AI-generated code to production, which is a surprise. I hope you are actually doing it and not just like stating. But it's nice to see so many of you actually using it already. But
more than half.
More than half.
And I would say that Finland works as a prime example of this because...
Yeah, I think like what always happens on a technology adaptations like this, if you ask developers, 97% of developers say they are using AI. They've actually used AI for the development. Then when you ask managers say 42% of companies actually use AI for their software development. Then when we go to the actual value streams or workflows, there's 11% who genuinely use it for the software development. So kind of it showcases the complexity of things, but also how it normally goes. There are these individuals who take it into use, and it's so cool that we definitely want to say we are using, but then the reality is something different. And if we go to the next slide, so technology adaptation curve, like most of you know this, innovators, early adapters, those are the ones that are actually the easy parts, and then there are the early maturity, late maturity, and laggards. Like with every technology, this same happens with AI and generative AI tools, and what we have seen with organizations, it is really easy to get for innovators and early adopters the tools into use because you just give it to them and they start to use it. Then when we get to the maturity, late majority or even laggards, you have to do a real transformation programs to get them to use the AI properly. So this is a learning which I hope you will get from this from today, even though we will talk about the future a lot. But now, as Marko is an innovator, he will now actually show you some magic here.
Yeah, I want to say that once again, when you implement new ideas in organizations, you want to go through the innovators, early adopters. And I have to say, with the results we've seen here today for the first poll, I would say that we have lots of the innovators here. However, when I look at coding, I see that we developers, I identify myself as a developer who can communicate also with business people. We just want to code. We just want to create working software. So a brief introduction into how coding happens. I'm very often showing an example of a service where we see the week number. So it's just a website that shows the week number, and I have it actually running live. It's week.hopefullyworks. The reason why I'm using hopefully.works domain is exactly for this kind of moment when I'm in front of you. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. Anyways, so when we start as developers to implement functionalities like this, so what we would today do, function, get week number, and date, of course, is a parameter. New date. Function there, let's see. Okay, it proposes us some code.
And Marko, just for everyone, this is now the Copilot, right? What you're using?
Yeah, this is so you're seeing GitHub Copilot here, but I have to say that you could use whichever. So whatever AI-driven development tool you feel comfortable, you could even go to ChatGPT and ask for code completions. It will give you code. The point is, we give context today in development. We give context, AI tries to guess what we're trying to do, and then we export the module like so and save. Oh, yes, we47. Amazing. However, I've also written some tests for this. And currently, so you can roughly see the test cases. I've used AI to generate those tests, and all of the tests are passing. I can see this week, but this is an interesting year. So if we open this cases here, this is an interesting year because the year starts from Sunday. So I would like to see if it should return week 47. Also for this Sunday, 24th of November, 2024. Okay. Once again, using AI, it picks the context, it gives me the code here. I'll just press tab, complete it, and save. And let's run the test cases. Oh no, because the week starts from the year starts from Sunday, we would never see this when we're running our business days from Monday to Friday, but actually the code isn't working. So I tried to solve, AI tried to please me here, but actually as the Sunday is on the previous, the previous week, it will give us a wrong answer. It says 48, even while we're expecting 47. And now if I have these tests, and then I would have my week number code. I know it's not working. So what should we do? Let's ask Copilot. Please generate me code that fixes the tests. Let's see what happens. I implement the get week number from module, ensure, and then some code. Good. Copy it from there, close it, add it here. Whoops. Almost, I said demo. Oh no. So much for that.
You lost it.
Yeah, we lost but it doesn't matter. So we generate it again, and as you can see, panicking on stage for you. Don't worry about it. No sweat needed here. I only wrote a part of the sentence and it gave me the code, and now I'll copy it here for real. I'll add it here and I'll save, and then we'll run the test cases. Okay, not getting there, doesn't matter. What we'll do is we'll continue by changing the styles just a bit. So we'll use steel blue and white as colors. And let's see if it works. npm start. Okay, there we go. So we have now different colors than in production. And then we'll commit the changes. Feet, change, colors, push. And now when we go back, so what happens is, once again, we only want to code. Apologies for not getting the code ready for you. It won't make you wait more. So we've made a change to the code repository. And as a developer, we also want it to be delivered quite automatically. And as you can see, it's now in week that hopefully works with different colors. I think it's
For the nice demo with the demo effect as it should.
yeah, as it should.
So what we've had the luxury to work with quite many different organizations all in all, and one thing that we've heard now is this is from one quite a big organization in Germany. They actually have said that from their own studies, the developers will save around 3 to 4 hours a week using things like Copilot. As Marko showed, like it's not that you just press a button and you get everything working. But at least for me, that's awesome. Like really saving 10% of or even more in someone's work week, that is awesome. These numbers, like someone will get 70% or something, that's never gonna happen. So there's always so much more, but like 10%, that is a huge number in any case.
Yeah. Once again, if we look at where we are with the automation, we're essentially in a place where we're going to still fail miserably, as I did on stage, which doesn't matter, because if I took 5 or more minutes, it would be working as expected. And I'm actually solving a relatively complex problems using AI. And I also have the automation in place to actually get it live into production immediately, which means like where we are currently with the software development is with all of this platform engineering and continuous integration, the DevOps practices. We already see that we're in a place where we can design the code with the help of AI and get it released as fast as possible.
One very surprising thing we have seen actually from different organizations is that there is less findings on CI/CD on security. Basically, that's at least quite surprising, since like there hasn't been any like security related AI as such implemented on this case, but it's just like it gives you better code because it knows the basic mistakes and basic things that shouldn't be there, which is I think a surprising thing that's going to happen via using AI tools, AI assisting tools on developing.
And it's something that even, as said, on a Fortune 500 company, this one comes from Denmark. What we can see there is when you put in all of the automated security analysis tools and you compare the people who haven't used AI and the ones who have been using AI for a while, have both learned to use more consistent and compliant code, but also get the results out of the code generated. Good.
So that was kind of the current, and now we're kind of going towards the future. And I think Annelies started it really well in the morning of like many organizations still haven't done the digitalization properly. So this is like related to that topic, even though we didn't know that you will actually talk about it, but it was a nice segue to this one. So again, let's ask something. Marko was faster. So how actively you actually use AI to modernize your legacy software or your legacy app on the IT digitalization end? Can a proper fight?
Yeah, interesting. A bit more, then we'll continue. But I think we're already seeing a trend here. So once again, what I showed you with the latest bells and whistles using GitHub or GitLab and deploying code immediately with, I was using Vercel, you could be using Fly.io or similar services like Heroku, you might know. It's so much easier to get AI up and running there. But when you go to legacy code, it's nowhere near that easy.
And like what we studied and took some numbers here is like 99.8, it was almost 99.9 of code was actually written before AI was taken in the use. So there's a huge mass of something we might call legacy. It's, of course, not everything is legacy, what was written before, but there's a big mass of things in any case. And there are other statistics like teams use a lot of time still just fixing the legacy or depth or what has been there. And this from 22, this very surprising fact of 71% of Fortune 500 companies still have mainframe somewhere in the use, and which was kind of a funny. And I don't think there has been a huge change in the last 2 years for it in any case. So legacy, the old code still matters a lot.
Yeah, and it's something that will essentially slow our pace of change in the future. But as I said, like the fast ones will go faster, and then the slow ones will be slowed down by the amount of legacy that exists. Okay, I get another try. I created a legacy sort. So this is, as the previous example is easier to understand because I can show a browser and some cool colors. This is just a sorting mechanism written in C code, and I'm not downplaying C code here in any way. It still has its place and it's an important tool, but I'll still claim that some organizations have C code that could use some renewal. And there are options for that. So I've created a C code that sorts a text file with numbers in different order. And if we look at how the modern legacy renewal would work, once again, we would use AI. I've been using now the same tool here, Copilot. I'll keep on using it. So could you rewrite me this code using Rust? So Rust is one of the technologies that are currently being implemented because it's compiled to C, and it's as efficient as like almost the best written C code. So we'll pick here Rust code. We'll make a file, sort.rs, save it, and then we have Rust compiler for the Rust file. Sort, not Rust, obviously. Okay, one warning, doesn't matter. Let's then try numbers.txt. Cool. Maybe I'll print something here to make sure that it really is the Rust code, and we'll get to see how my demonstration skills works. Rust sorting mechanism. Yeah, Rust sorting mechanism. And of course, like as an example, this is relatively simple. We have this kind of an algorithm in place and we replace it with Rust. But the point is quite clear. you have your code, AI gets the context, it understands what the code actually does, and it is able to rewrite the same functionality using a completely different language. The same way as I'm, for example, using AI as a translator today, way more than I'm using, for example, Google Translate.
And there are already, we're not going to go into the details, but like this is something that we've seen and heard from many of our partners, that like there are these tools coming. Their first tries are already, I think, open for try. So this will for sure come, and we both believe this is the direction we will definitely go with the legacy systems. But let's go forward.
I'll show something before we go forward.
All right.
So I'll just like we briefly added some tools that you could use, but I want to show you something. So already in the version control systems, you could have this kind of an auto development in place. And here's just an example how it contextually would work. So I have code scanning, it's code QL scanning, and I have 3 problems that have been found from there. And how the modern world would work is that you have, here's an example of Copilot Autofix. It goes in, it sees the problem, it reads the code, it reads the context, and it already proposes a fix for me, which I can add in as a pull request. So instead of just being a Copilot sitting next to me or a translator, it already is taking place as a real developer in the team working independently, which will then take us to...
Yes, thanks. I'm sorry for rushing you.
No.
So the third phase of things is that we believe that the language will change. I think this is something you always tell the story from Jan, right? So
yeah, so Jan is one of our colleagues working in Copenhagen, and he's always told me when I've shown demos like Week Number, he's always said like, isn't AI a computer trying to tell human how to communicate with a stupid computer? And kind of when you start to think about it, coding languages has been created for the purpose of us humans being able to communicate to stupid computers what they should be doing. And now we've created AI to tell stupid humans to tell stupid computers what they should be doing. So it's quite obvious that this is due to change in the future, and relatively fast, I would assume.
exactly, and this is a picture that genuinely Marko hates, but I still got to show it to you. But the idea shortly is that like how it would work is that the iterations with the product, like you can think about agile things of the like you will have business requirements which start to iterate with the human loop all the time, and then when you can kind of say to something that hey, this is good, then it will go to the next level to get the non-functional requirements or the operational stuff in security stuff. Like the order doesn't matter. It can be something different, but like it doesn't. At least in a bigger enterprises, there's no point on always building a perfect software and then going back to test it. Like it's gonna be like agile in very short loops, which you can define maybe in the form of user stories, or there are people from our end who like more of these like test-driven development things. So we don't know what it will be, but that's the direction we definitely believe it's going to go in the future.
Yeah, and Peter in one of the previous sessions on track 2 was talking exactly about this, how for example, in Qt environment, they have QML, which is their language of explaining the user interface in code. And we see that there are similar solutions already. For example, Figma is doing, and Adobe uses already tools that you can use to define the AI, the user interface. And then like the connection from user interface into the actual requirements, and then getting into the operability is something that are clear steps that are happening independent of each other and will be connected in the future, in the near future. So
Third try.
yeah. One success, one failure. There is an interesting service called Critique. It's actually built for a very different purpose. It's built for like a browser addition to be used as like AI helping you browse better. But what you can do with it, what they've kind of implemented to be part of it, is you can define an API using AI. API means application programming interface, which means a place where you can go programmatically to ask data or information. And then you can use anything you want with that information. Most of you probably know what API is. No, we don't have a questionnaire for that, don't worry. So I've defined an API. It says API that lists GitHub repositories that have most stars. And okay, this is relatively boring API because you can pull it from Copilot, from GitHub as well. But the fact is, it could be anything. This is just the demonstration. You go there and you try out your own versions of it. It's quite funny. You define the input schema. I have limit, then configuration, what's the name, and then output schema. And in the output schema, I already have quite a bit of information I've already added, for example, the number of stars and owner here. And then when we try it out, test and export the code, enter limit, we want five repositories. And of course, here we get into kind of the performance of modern API generated code. So it has to interpret first what I'm wanting, then it has to get the results and interpret the results. But the results, however, is something that looks like data. This is JSON. And you can already read their top 5 most starred GitHub repositories along with their details. And some code to accompany that. So you could have a super simple, this is just JavaScript code, don't worry about it, but this is the URL I'm using for the Critique browser using an API key and just a regular request for this particular information I'm sending in. Let me see, node index. And it would run the exact same query. And if I would like to attach, for example, user interface for this particular data, I would be able to do it. So the key point is we're already approaching an environment where we can, by API, start to define the applications. So we are not too far from actually using requirements to generate software.
So these, like what we call auto-development platforms, as Marko already said and showed, that like they are closer than we think. We're not meaning here the no-code type of things where there are actually in no-code there has been like someone has made the code which you then use the different bits and pieces from here and there. But this is actually like things that you can use as the example was for API, but it could be something else. It could be, like said, it could be UI. It could be even a complete feature in some cases.
Okay, then we're jumping into the so-called unknown territory. But it's something that we see that will be part of the future as well. The way it will be presented and the time frame when it's going to happen is, of course, as fuzzy as the fog that we have around us. But we'll still make a try.
So the ideology there is, or the idea is that like from getting these like static software to adaptive solutions, that how do you get this like software that learns to meet your need one iteration at a time? Like there's no good good examples, of course, of it. But something that we discussed a bit was like this, like when you build a house, basically, then you could buy the land or then take the you would buy the package which you can define fully for yourself, and then it magically just happens. Everyone who has ever like ordered those know that that's not how it happens, but still you get the idea. Other than that it would actually happen in some minutes.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And the interesting concept about this, of course, is the house building is cool because you can define the features, and actually you kind of do when you do that kind of a work. You like, of course, there are people involved, but the communication way is the same. But what's funny with software is if you have it AI driven or not AI driven, in real life you cannot say that, okay, so unfortunately, I would need to move this house 2 meters to east. But in software, you can. You just say that I want to move this way. Like, it sounds stupid when you have it in a physical world, but in a software world, changing the structure depends on the architecture of your software. And in the future, if we really are able to get into the point where the code is generated from requirements, you make a change to a requirement and the software will change along that.
This tries to explain it even more deeply. That like if I'll take an example of taking CRM system in a use, that what it would start with, let's just imagine, would be that we would like draw to the board, maybe with the help of AI also, like, hey, this is our sales process, a sales and marketing process, and it would guide you, maybe ask questions at that point of time. So you would define the target state, which would be then input for this CRM system or solution, and then AI actually creates based on those drawings the first version of the software. And then when user actually starts to use it, you know what's going to happen. There's something that doesn't work. There's something we need to add more. There's something we need to adjust. And then there will be this like usage data plus then the domain knowledge. Like, hey, this is how in this industry, this company, things work. And it will start build new features on top of the existing ones to fulfill the user need. So this cycle starts to go so that like eventually you will have the perfect CRM if that ever exists. But you kind of understand that this is the way that it will change the way you work with even large software. So the difficulties, of course, then everyone can speculate about it, is like, how do you maintain stuff like that? Whose responsibility is to ask for stupid features from the software and stuff like that? But this is the direction that we will definitely go in the future.
Yes. And before our last slide, I would like to have you answer to one more question. And that's, of course, it's controversial on purpose. So go ahead and answer it the way that you feel is right. And when we look at the way how AI will change the way we work, of course, there are two different types of innovation. The other type is the efficiency, and the other one is the novelty. And when we today and in the near future talk about innovation, AI brings us efficiency innovation. It brings us the way to improve things. It brings us the way to make things faster, the way that I've already showed to you. It brings us the ways we can direct the human work, the human brains, the human way of working into the direction where we can move to the novelty side of innovation, where we can come up with new solutions. And with all of the solutions we have at hand and the way that we showed with Henka how the future might form, we also think that the way AI is changing is coming from the efficiency direction and also taking slices of the innovation. And that's, of course, then based on iteration and data. still pouring in answers. Someone spamming there, I know, it's okay. But luckily we had enough people who already answered no. So we're somewhere around 50-50, which is once again super interesting feedback. Thank you. Let's go.
Let's go to the last one. So then the kind of we thought about it a lot. We had some good debates on this. That what are then the things to concentrate in the future? I think the first one, data, have come up in many sessions today. So like I think we definitely are onto something there. I just wanna kind of highlight something on the data. It's also about the connected data. It might not be only, I think that was also brought up in some of the sessions earlier, but it's not only about like your data, but it's also about like how your data connects to other things, and what are your APIs to the data, what you expose to the others to use, what you could take from others to expose to your use. So it's the whole set in data there.
Yeah, and if we look at, for example, Atlassian talks about the teamwork graph, and that's kind of their way of looking at their own domain, but the concept is interesting. It was in the Team 24 in Barcelona, what they said about their data, how they're gathering the data, and they're calling it a teamwork graph, essentially meaning that all of the different systems that they have produce information, which has kind of the same structure everywhere you would put it, which means that when you then use it for example, AI consumption or any other analysis, you already know that it's structured the same way. You don't have to start filtering in it from different sources. And I believe organizations such as yours will have to also move towards the same direction. Whatever you collect, you have to also look at the kind of the semantic side of it. How do you form it in such a way that even if the data currently for us humans doesn't look at all like it would have any connection, it might actually have a connection.
Yep. So jumping to the next one, which is the human connection. This is something that we discussed a lot about it, but like I think the previous questioner was already about this one. The points that humans are in the value streams will start to reduce. It's there's going to be much more automation in many points, but then it at the same time makes the human connection the place where you can compete. So that's something that you should then understand. What are the important human connection points in your value stream? And now I mean the full value stream, to not only to like go to release type of a value stream, but actual value stream from like idea to the usage of a product type of a thing. Like where are your human connections in that value stream? Because those will be the things that you should create to be your competitive edge in the long run.
And if we look at the magnificent 7 stocks in the market currently that are driving kind of the growth in the stock markets, there are companies such as Meta and Alphabet, which both are essentially built on the human interaction, the human connection, and collecting that kind of an information. And in the future, it will have even more and more importance in winning in the market.
All right. Then the third and final one is the supply chains, which aren't that easy. Like we didn't talk about robots much today, and I think like that's the one thing that it will take even longer time to robots to take over all of the supply chains, especially when we start from the resources, really like from the beginning of energy and actual resources that you use. Like if you again think about the whole supply chain, it will be the thing that like creates your ecosystem competitiveness. And but then it's not only about the physical resources. Also, like a good example is TikTok. It's like TikTok basically doesn't have anything special. It just has the creators there. Just right. That's the competitive. How on earth they got all the creators to be on their platform? So there are these like, what really is your supply chain? What is your ecosystem that creates your supply chain for the consumers? I know it's like it's not an easy thing to think about that. Like, hey, are these TikTok dancers part of your supply chain? But like honestly, if you think about the consumer who watches those, then they are part of the supply chain.
And the same goes, of course, then everything that you would have in the physical world. So we had Sensible 4, for example, presenting the story of kind of their story. And to be honest, there is a huge supply chain there in the background as well, even while we would be able to achieve some sort of AI driven based on all of the descriptions that we have. And then there would be data and there's the human connection. So it's like these three we see as the key things for future. We also had a very, very juicy fight over the patents, but we've decided to keep it in the supply chain side. So what will be the role of patents in the future if you can just create anything?
Yeah. We can reveal a bit that like because of the like things happening around the world, what's the value of patents in the future? How much those actually will be like appreciated? How much you AI actually gives you away, that you give a patent to an AI and say that like figure out this thing without hurting this patent. Like you can actually give it as a requirement. We want to do this, but we want to do it another way. Like these are things that's the reason we kind of did have patents as a separate thing, and we can continue the fight over this on the like after the session, then on the hallway.
So going back to the beginning, we'll see this in 2 years, right? And with those words, thank you so much for being here.